Hello and welcome to Impact 2023 and Market Partner Studios and today's edition of How Customers Buy, where we explore how customers buy and why they don't. We have breaking news today, a crisis in B2B marketing and sales. Sellers are becoming increasingly disconnected from buyers. To explore this subject in more detail, we have with us today the founder and principal of Market Partners, Martin Lewis. Martin, welcome.
Thank you, Stu. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you tell us what got you started in this whole aspect of researching how customers buy?
Well, it's an interesting question because we've got a background in sales. We're looking at what makes selling effective. And one of the things that we came across was the statement of the obvious that it really helps if you're selling, if you've got somebody involved with you that's buying. And that takes us to the buying side of the equation. So we started looking at how customers buy. That led us on this, now 18 years of looking at how customers buy. We've talked to over 2,800 buyers individually, in-depth interviews to discover what goes on when we're selling, when they're buying.
That's a lot of research, 2,800 customers. So that must have led to a lot of observations. Can we start by looking at what you've seen with regard to this whole disconnection between sellers and buyers? What have you seen?
Well, yeah, absolutely. You're exactly right. There's a huge disconnect. Buyers do not contact sellers till they're 50 or 70% of the way through their buying journey. That means that budgets are set, they frame things out, they pretty much know what they want to do before they reach out and connect. The other startling statistic we found is that in terms of buying activities, the buyer across their buying journey, salespeople are only involved in 10%. 90% of the buying activities, there is no salesperson involved.
10%? that sounds absolutely astounding. How can that be?
Well, let's take a look at it. Buyers only connect with sellers when they think that a seller can be of use to them, when they think there's value. If they can get information off the internet or some other easy way, they don't want to speak to a salesperson. So they're only going to speak to a salesperson when they believe the salesperson can add value. And when you look across all the things they get involved in, and buying has become far more complex over the last 10 years. More people are involved in it than ever. Lots of things have to happen across the buying journey. They really don't see that salespeople can add value in those activities.
To me, that sounds honestly like a crisis that needs solving.
We totally agree. We believe it's a crisis, but we also think it's probably the biggest opportunity that's faced businesses and sales forces ever. How do we reconnect sellers with buyers?
So how do you do that? What do you have to do that?
You know, it may start with the statement of the obvious. You've got to have a deep understanding of how your customers buy.
Okay.
Now, although that sounds obvious, we very rarely find any company that truly understands what goes on across the entire buying journey. They imagine they do, unfortunately, but do they really? Do they understand where that buying journey starts? Do they understand who gets involved? What do those people value? How do they make their decisions? And where do they get hung up? What are their concerns? So it really has to start with understanding, a very deep understanding of the specific market's complete end-to-end buying journey.
This sounds like it's a whole lot more than just like investing in customer experience or being customer centric. You know, a focus that needs to be placed on actually facilitating the buyer through this buying journey. So can you tell us what Market Partners does to help customers do that?
Well, hopefully quite a bit, Stu. What do? We do the market research. To start with, we can decode buying journeys like I think nobody else. We can decode the buying journey to discover what really goes on. Secondly, we can provide transformative consulting, as much or as little as required to help a customer step through from steam-age driven selling to modern selling. So we can help with transformation. Yeah, then we can look at, we provide a series of training workshops, either custom or off-the-shelf workshops, to really get salespeople motivated and enthusiastic about embracing a different way of selling, how they connect with their buyers. And then finally, and most exciting, we've started our new technology division, where we're working with Seismic to really bring the power of that platform to enable modern selling to happen.
So you've invested heavily, obviously, in this partnership with Seismic. Why is that?
Well, we think that Seismic represents the future of selling. When a client showed me Seismic just over a year ago, it showed me how you can reconnect sellers with buyers. To me, it enables us to do that like nothing else I'd previously seen.
So Martin, what does it mean for a Seismic seller to be involved with market partners?
Well, hopefully we provide a one-stop shop. First of all, we can help you sell. If there's anybody out there that doesn't think there's an urgent need to change how they are selling, how to reconnect sellers to buyers, I hope we can convince them that there is a need to think about selling and marketing differently today. Buyers are buying differently. We have to sell and market differently. So first off, I hope we can convince people there is an urgent need to do this, and that Seismic represents one of the most exciting platforms that enable this to happen. Then we can help with the overall selling. We can blow away some of the biggest objections that happen in terms of, have I got the resources, can I do this? We can provide the blueprint for success. How do you step from where you are to the vision of success? And then we can make sure that adoption happens, that salespeople enthusiastically adopt Seismic and use it to reconnect themselves with their buyers.
That's fascinating. So it sounds to me like potentially shorter sales cycles, larger deals, less pilots, less trials, better adoption, more upsells, and lower churn. Amazing.
That's
amazing.
it.
So before we wrap this up, I'm going to put you on the spot. I wouldn't be a good host if I didn't give you the opportunity for this. I hear you published a book. And that book has gotten 5-star reviews and been featured in Forbes and Selling Power and others. So tell us a little bit about your book, Mark.
That's exactly right. How customers buy and why they don't. A carefully chosen title. It's not about why customers buy. Everybody knows why a customer should buy what they're offering. But do you really understand how they're going to buy it? And very importantly, why they may not. Today, we find it more important to understand why a customer may not buy something that's good for them than why they should. So yes, so that's the book. It takes 10 years of research, bundles it all up, presents that, some case studies, and what to do in this new world.
Fantastic. Well, let me summarize then, go back to my notes here for a second and just make sure that I've got it all. So you've shared your research, your company's extensive research, proven that sellers are becoming increasingly disconnected from buyers, that there's a significant business opportunity associated with that if you can solve that problem. And the foundation for solving that problem is understanding the customer's buying journey. And then based on that understanding, facilitate a conversation addressing the specific needs and concerns of the customer at each stage of the buying journey. And by doing that, they will basically have a more intelligent and more engaged conversation with their prospects and customers. And then finally, we've heard how Seismic plays such an important role in that. So for all you Seismic sellers out there, if you think that your customers or your prospects could benefit from this conversation in any of those aspects, Martin is available for keynotes, for workshops, for conversations. So thank you for spending the time with us today, and be sure to join us for the next edition of How Customers Buy, where we're going to explore the 3 biggest barriers that could cause a customer to stall or to stop buying a sales enablement platform.